Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Thank you for joining the live session today. From the best of my knowledge, doing IoT for about 9 years now. I will try to decode some snags and solution, and we're going to demystify some IoT stuff. So today's agenda is basically the why and the how. In the why, we'll basically explain why do more than 60% of the IoT efforts fail, and also why does the deployment of IoT enterprise systems stay unsuccessful year after year and not seeing the long-term vision. And the how can we make them successful would be we'll not try to reinventing the wheel, and then also how to create scalable enterprise solutions by interoperable wireless technologies. A quick background about me. I'm the CEO of Viannix. We have been doing IoT solutions and IoT partnerships for about 9 years now. We serve all sorts of businesses, especially OEM, manufacturing, smart factories, smart cities, smart construction, asset tracking, and all that stuff. We not only just do software, but we are very deep into all sorts of hardware manufacturing processes, cloud solutions. So we kind of bring you one end-to-end solution on the plate. Let's get down to why do 60% of IoT systems fail. The first reason, biggest reason through the research has shown that we have a lack of understanding of an IoT system. So as we all know, or most of the people who have joined the conference know, that IoT system contains a lot of moving parts. It could be devices, it could be power management of the devices, it could be device and data management, it could be a business process, which connectivity to choose, and decision-making algorithms. And the biggest problem here is interoperability, where designing a system for a single use case and then trying to expand in year 2 and year 3 becomes very hard, because if the system is initially designed at a very closed loop level, it won't interoperate with other sensors. Second is shortage of experienced and skilled professionals. So in an IoT world, I was just talking to someone today, and they commented, said they have more than 500 IoT engineers to help IoT solutions out. And in response, I was thinking, IoT engineer is a little bit different kind of an engineer. They may be, embedded engineers or RF engineers or back-end engineers or front-end engineers, but an IoT engineering or IoT engineer is very hard to find a good person who can understand the electronics, the hardware, the data management, the platform, how the data goes from point A to point B. And those things are majorly constrained at the IoT technical architect also working with an IoT business architect within that organization. So the IoT technical architect is managing all the lower level guys who are trying to make the solution, like RF, embedded integration, connectivity, regulatory, compliance, certifications. But then again, the IoT technical architect must be able to communicate clearly, openly with an IoT business architect. An IoT business architect is something which defines the whole use case and sees the vision for next 5 years, or next 10 years, or next 20 years for the solution and for the interoperability of the business. So one is IoT business architect is always missing in a lot of these solutions. And we do not have enough qualified IoT technical architects on the place where how they can understand everything works. The IoT technical architect must understand hardware, software, cloud, and how the data will go from point A to point B, and I also understand the connectivity piece of it. Third is ignorance of latest technologies. So we have a lot of medium-sized businesses and large-sized businesses in United States who are still ignorant of the latest technologies. Latest technologies are, I'm going to say, like LoRaWAN or Sigfox or Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. I mean, these are the technologies which everybody uses, but how to use them within the sensors and within the organization is very hard. Change, culture, acceptance, these are the things which are very hard to come by in a very large organization. So whenever you're trying to implement a new technology which can monitor assets by itself, or which can change the way we work in the companies, right? All the employees must be able to adjust to those changes and accept the technology, which has to be done at the C-level and at the decision maker, making sure that employees understand that, okay, we are not trying to intrude in somebody's privacy, or we are not trying to change how we do things. We're just trying to make things more efficient. A lot of times we make solutions where people want to track employees when they are inside a building, or solution could be is if a fire alarm goes off, then how can we make sure that all the employees are exiting the building? With that also comes the challenge of tracking. So in a nutshell, we have to educate the whole organization in the technology which is being implemented, and not just push the decision down and then it's not getting used properly. The fourth and last problem with IoT efforts failing is people choosing a wrong partner. So there are more than 1,500 IoT platform companies today. And to whoever you talk to, the response is going to be is, yes, we can, and yes, we do everything. Those companies may only just do, let's say, software only, and then they have no knowledge about how the hardware side of the world works. Some companies may only know hardware, and they're trying to get to the software level, and they don't know how the whole software works. Another problem is experts on only one technology. So let's say if somebody's expert in Bluetooth, then they want everything to be done via Bluetooth, where the solution may not demand and say you need to use Bluetooth. You may want to use something else, maybe LoRaWAN, or maybe it needs cellular connectivity, or it needs Wi-Fi connectivity, or Ether connectivity, whatever it may be. So that is one of the biggest challenges. A person must be able to identify what is the right technology to be used, and that can only be done by if you choose a right partner to work with you, or you have a very good IoT technical architect who understands all the technologies and understands the restrictions of those technologies, and then proceed from there. Moving to the next topic, why does the IoT deployment and enterprise level system stay unsuccessful? So the first is everybody tries to envision a single use deployment. That is the biggest problem today. Where say they plan a single use deployment in year one, and in year two, they are gonna deploy that system, and that system may work just fine. But at the year three, at year four, and in year five, because we have not planned for the year five, we have not planned for the scalability, we have not planned for the interoperability, we have not planned for what more things can we do. Now, all of a sudden, you get choked after year two saying, oh, our platform is not scalable to add one more use case, or my hardware is not going to work for my additional use case, or my gateways are not compatible with other technologies. And therefore, people spend the IoT infrastructure budget right in first 2 years on that single use case, and after that, no other use cases could be implemented. It is very important for an enterprise system for the sensors and the platforms to be able to intercommunicate and interoperate within themselves. It doesn't matter what the use cases. It means at year one, you may want to be monitoring system X, but year two, you want to change it to you want to control something. Year three, you want to do something. So in an IoT ecosystem, year after year, we must be able to select the right platform, the right deployment strategies, so we can grow within the platform and grow pretty rapidly and not go back doing the R&D for first 2 years again and again. The second biggest reason of an enterprise IoT system being unsuccessful is single IoT technology dependency. So when you deploy the first system, it may be based off, the hardware could be based on Bluetooth, LoRaWAN, Sigfox, Wi-Fi, NB-IoT, or any other wireless technology or wired technology, whatever you're trying to sense, whatever you're trying to monitor. The problem is, if you base your whole system on just one technology, then that can only solve that one problem. Tomorrow, you want to expand your ecosystem, then you can't do that with the secondary technology because you were only focused on one thing. That's where I say, don't fall into a sales trap. Keep the options open where, if you're talking to a cellular company, then the cellular company only wants to sell you the cellular connections, and they're going to base the whole ecosystem based on cellular connections. If you talk to a LoRaWAN person, then that company only wants to do LoRaWAN devices. They don't even want to entertain any other technology. Bluetooth solution provider may only concentrate on Bluetooth solutions. So the problem here is we can't solve all the solutions or all the use cases considering a smart city or a smart manufacturing plant or industry 4.0 by just one technology. You have to use all the technologies together in order to solve those problems and in order to have the right solutions deployed the right way. Another big problem is when we use single IoT technology dependency, we always run into an issue of an ROI cost. So thinking of, for one use case, okay, a specific sensor may have made sense. And the other technology, you have to use a different technology because simply we can't make the hardware at that cost point. So therefore, now you cannot deploy the technology. So keeping in mind that when we deploy an enterprise-grade IoT system, you must be able to intercommunicate with the different hardware, different technologies, and don't fall into the single sales trap or a single provider. Another problem in the enterprise IoT system is security. Under security, you can see a lot of different options. You have regulatory compliance. So if you're in a medical industry, you must be compatible with HIPAA compliance. If you are in wireless industry, FCC, aviation is FDA, and other things. Encryption is a big problem. Design faults would be another problem. In IoT, in a very base and a simplistic way to say something is that all we are trying to do is we are trying to get the data from point A to point B, and then from point B to point C, from point C to point D. That's all we're trying to do in the IoT. How do we do it is the key factor for a specific solution. How the data gets encrypted from point A to point B, how the data gets encrypted from point B to point C. Now, all the encryption methods or the secure communication methods could be different. From point A to B could be different, B to C could be a different thing, C to D could be a different thing, and managing that becomes a challenge. Also, there are a lot of rogue device requests made as millions of devices are getting deployed. How do you stop rogue device requests? Should we create more certificates? Should we create extension IDs? And how do we create a secure system? The lastly we want to talk about is a unique protocol management. So if you are an enterprise company and if you are deploying a solution, you must make your own software protocol system where you are transmitting the data from point A to B, B to C, and C to D. And that protocol system has to be scalable also, where all individual departments can understand how those protocols are distributed. Moving to the how and how to be successful. Don't reinvent the wheel. Find the right partner for your IoT ecosystem. If you want to do a proper IoT deployment, one company must hire at least 15 to 20 engineers who know what they're doing. And then there are lack of those engineers, what they're doing. It is very easy to do a proof of concept from, a college level proof of concept. Hey, I got this sensor, I use this SDK, I use this platform, boom, I can see the data. And I can visualize the data. Let's scale it up. We scale it up to 100 devices. Everything is looking good. Let's scale it up to 1,000 devices. That's where the problem happens when you scale it up to 1,000 devices, 100,000 devices. And now you're going to see bottlenecks in the whole ecosystem. And now you are stuck with the whole system because you've already invested so much money. Finding the right partner is the key. The partner should have the knowledge of hardware, should have the knowledge of software, should have the knowledge of platform, should have the knowledge of how to scale, should have a history of IoT deployments. And lastly, I would say that the whole solution, the whole platform has to be agile. The partner has to be agile. They must be able to adapt to changes literally on a daily basis. That is how IoT systems properly get deployed. If you create a very hard specification at the beginning and say we want to do just that specification, after 9 months or a year, the solution gets deployed. When it's going to get deployed, it's going to be a closed solution. It's going to be very hard to implement other sensors, other technologies into the system because it was built based on a very closed ecosystem. So creating scalable enterprise solutions by using interoperable wireless technologies. I can't imagine making a solution with just a single technology. I have done that before. Yes, I have. So if somebody requests a solution, we do. The initial use case goes on a single solution, but when you're trying to do an ecosystem, you have to be able to deploy a solution which can integrate with all different wireless technologies, all M2M solutions, all low power wide area networks. How are you going to do the cloud computing? How are you going to do the database management? So all those things can depend on what kind of company it is, what kind of use case it is, what kind of vision they can see. So when drafting a IoT system, you should think for what do you want to do in 10 years and not just year one. That's all I have for you today. If you have any questions or any concerns, you can always reach out to us. And let me know if you have any questions. Just reach out to us if you have any questions or if you want to partner, and we'll take next steps from there.